Hey everybody, welcome to the Zelo Zone Quarantine Edition. Your host Matt Bacaling here once again with the one and only Sorceress of Sin, Elayna Black. Welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining. How is quarantine life treating you?
I thought it wouldn't be that bad because I am kind of introverted and like to stay home.
Sure.
But with no wrestling and literally no anything else, I realized that like I hate it.
It's weird.
Yeah, and if I'm being told to stay inside, I do not want to stay inside. But we have to. We'll get through it. It's fine. I'm still working.
Yeah.
So, which is good and bad.
Sure.
Because obviously I need money, but
Right.
a lot going on. Kind of scary.
Yeah, no, it's like one of those things where you would normally choose to be inside, but when you're told not to, it has that opposite effect of like, I don't even have anywhere to go. I just want to get out.
Yeah, literally.
So how are in terms of like your day-to-day activities, how are those being impacted now versus what you would normally be doing on a regular basis?
Well, normally, like, just a regular weekday, I'll go to the gym in the morning. I'll go straight from the gym to work. But then if I don't do it that way, sometimes if I don't have time in the morning, I'll go to work, then to the gym. But either way,
Yeah.
I'll do those things, and then I'll go straight to training. And that's Monday through Thursday, and then sometime Thursday, then Friday, Saturday, Sunday, usually wrestling. So I'm usually like, I'm like busy at all times. So now I'll go to work, and then I'll try to work out the best at-home workouts you can possibly do.
Sure.
I'll just literally work out, and then lately I've been trying to just like keep myself busy and like take the time to like film promos. And,
Yeah.
Like I used to draw a lot, and I used to like be super into like drawing and writing, which like obviously when you have like a life that's like so chaotic, I never
Right.
get like time to do that anymore. So at least now it's like you can kind of like find stuff that you used to do and like used to find enjoyable, but like now it just feels like forced. But I mean, it's something. It's better
Sure.
than nothing.
I mean, I think that's great, and you're probably in a better position than a lot of other people are in terms of being able to have things, both with work and with hobbies, to find things to kind of bide your time in a very unprecedented, chaotic, odd time that
Yeah.
there are things. So I guess that's kind of something that I'm intrigued to know a little bit more about is, we have plenty to talk about in terms of wrestling, but with wrestling pushed aside for a second, was there any, obviously if you're kind of very artistic, is that something that was of interest for a long time kind of growing up? Was there ever anything outside of wrestling that you were interested in doing?
Honestly, I started watching wrestling when I was like 8, and I think before that, the only thing I ever was like super, I guess, interested in, like, I think it was like the first thing I wanted to do, like when I grew up, it was to be a dolphin trainer.
No way.
I used to love dolphins. I like,
Okay.
like had everything dolphins. I mean, now I'm not. I mean, I kind of like know more about zoos and stuff like that, so kind of
Sure.
like not really about that anymore. But at the time, I used to love dolphins, and I used to like go to the zoo and like just like want to go to the dolphin show all the time because I wanted to be a dolphin trainer. But then that only lasted like a short while, and then like as soon as I saw wrestling, like that was it for me. So
That's awesome.
like I said, forget about the dolphins. I want to be a wrestler.
That's hilarious. So have you ever been swimming with dolphins before?
Oh, I haven't. I would love to do that, but
Yeah.
then again, I'm just like, oh, the poor dolphins.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know, but no, that was like my dream when I was a kid, like to swim with dolphins. But not like one time I like volunteered at like the dolphin show, and it was like the coolest day of my life.
That's awesome.
But, yeah.
Now, are you from Chicago originally?
Yeah.
Okay, so like is like Brookfield Zoo or like Lincoln Park Zoo, are those where you went to growing
Yeah.
up? Right on.
I think we used to have like a membership at the Brookfield Zoo. So,
Right on.
Yeah. And then like with like art and everything, I just like for as long as I can remember, I was always like writing like stories, and they were like weird stories. Like I would
Okay.
just, like the most like bizarre stuff and just like draw like stuff to go with like these crazy stories. So I think that's also like why I kind of like gravitated towards wrestling, because I just always have loved like storytelling. So
Yeah.
it's like this is literally just like a crazy story I would write, but like on TV.
Right, it goes right hand in hand.
Yeah.
And I think that probably helps for you both with development of like your persona and being able to tell stories in the ring, like having that natural interest in storytelling outside of this crazy world of professional wrestling, like being able to hone that and apply it here probably
Yeah.
puts you in a different category and maybe at a little bit of an advantage.
Yeah, I mean, it's still literally wrestling's the hardest thing in the world, and like trying to come up with like stuff that hasn't been done or like
Right.
new new ideas and all this stuff is super difficult to do. But I think like just like naturally having like a storytelling like instinct in me, I guess. I don't know, because like it's like to be able to like create your own character is like fun for me. So
that's awesome, and that makes a lot of sense because it comes through in what you're presenting out there for anyone who's seen you work and have seen you in the ring. That you're, especially being as young as you are, and in the first year or so of you working, like that is one thing that has always been prevalent is you have a persona, you have a gimmick, and whether you've had that leading up to the time that you debuted or not, it really didn't matter because it was there from day one, which I think a lot of people struggle with sometimes, especially breaking into the business, is that they do all the training and physically they are there and they can put on a match and potentially tell a story, but in terms of their gimmick and their persona, it sometimes comes second, and being able to cut promos and things like that. So to be able to have that from the start and something that you're passionate about, even just as much as the wrestling component, is huge.
Yeah, for sure. And like I said, it's still like the hardest thing in the world, but it's like, I think like lately I've just been looking at it as like, well, like what would I want to see in like the story, or like to kind of try to like look at it that way, or like it's literally like I said, like the wrestling is like just like one big movie, a book, like all this stuff, like no everything. Doubt. It's just create like what you would want to watch. So I think that's what I've tried to focus on lately.
And that's huge, and that's super important, especially when it comes to resonating with fans, because people love entertainment, but they love plot lines, and you need to have something that's going to draw them in. And as much as athletic high spot wrestling does that, it only it has a diminishing effect where at some point you're going to need something more than that to keep people interested and entertained, and that's where the story element comes in, which is important, which I'm glad that that's something that you certainly have really taken seriously and put in a lot of your work, which is evident.
Thank you. I love watching like some of my favorite matches, my favorite people to watch are like the crazy flippy, like just like out of this world like type matches. That's not something I can physically, I think, ever do.
Sure.
Which like I can love to watch it, and like part of me wishes like maybe I could do that stuff, but it's like because I can't, like I try to focus on like other stuff that is also I think is like cool. Like I just like. Yeah, everyone has like their own little niche.
Right, and you know your strengths, and you play up to it, and I think that's super important too. So, did you have the Elayna Black persona and character in mind going into your debuts in wrestling a couple of years ago, or however long it's been now since you've started?
I think little bits and pieces. I think I definitely, when I would think about what I wanted to be as a wrestler, I definitely did picture at least some part of what I'm doing right now. But like I think like my second match ever was at Zelo. It was the 4-way. And
that's in Milwaukee. That's right.
Yeah, you could tell like I had no idea what I was doing. Like my look, everything was like completely different than what it is now. And that was only like a year and a half ago. So it's like I definitely did like have a vision in mind, but I feel like it never, like even now it still hasn't like come to fully be everything like I want it to be. But it's like I definitely did always have that in mind, and I just try to like pick up stuff here and there to keep like building it. But
and how much of
the character I want it to be,
and how much of that character would you say is reflective of you as a person just in normal life? Like is this you kind of turned up to 10, or are these different pieces of your interest or your stories that you may have put together previously kind of come to life?
I feel like it's definitely a piece of me, and also a piece of stuff that is not me, but I love.
Yeah.
So it's I think the first time I ever even kind of thought of this gimmick was that I wanted to learn tarot card reading.
Yeah.
And that was like on my own, like completely separate, like not even involved in wrestling. And because I always kind of thought that stuff was interesting. And I feel like I've always kind of just been like the weird like goth girl. So I just like kind of was like, well, I have that, and then like I started like doing the tarot card thing, and I was like, I don't know of anyone that like has like tarot cards like in their gimmick.
It's
like,
so unique.
If there is, I didn't or do not know about it. But and that's like even if there does like some people do like kind of use that, it's like so like I said earlier, it's so hard to find something that literally nobody does. But if you can find something that's like rare, I think that's cool. So I was like, why would I not just like do this for wrestling? And I think like thought of like a promo because I was gonna be like managing Bryce at the time.
Okay.
And I thought of like a promo with the tarot cards, and I was like, well, this is cool. So why don't I just like make this my whole thing?
Yeah.
Like the tarot card thing was just like me wanting to like have fun on my own.
For sure.
And then I was just like, yeah, I'll just use this. So that's definitely like a piece of me. And then like the weird thing is like I like hate like scary movies.
Do you really? Yeah.
Yeah. And like death is like one of like my biggest fears in life.
Okay.
Like, in general, like it like freaks me out. Like
sure.
Top of my list, like biggest fears in life. And so I think I just tried to like take my fears and like
just embrace them.
Like something good.
Yeah.
Like, something that like I'm passionate about and care about. That's like I have like a tattoo. It's like a like skull with a pinky promise of like a human hand.
Okay.
And it's kind of like life and death, and it's like I'm so scared of death. So like just tattoo it on me.
Yeah.
Like, then I have like the power over it.
For sure. That's awesome, and that's cool to know, like that, knowing that backstory and kind of where that all comes from, and it makes a lot of sense seeing it because like, you can see all those things coming through, and it makes it super unique, especially to you. So I mean, you know, kudos to you for being able to put all those things together. Have you perfected your tarot card reading skills?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
Like it seems like it would be like so simple, but it's literally like the hardest thing in the world. Like once I think like I know, it's like there's 20 other meanings to something. It's like you. Like, I have the horrible memories, so like, sometimes I can't even, like, remember. I'm like, what did this mean again? I have to, like, go in my book. And, like,
right.
But, no, there's, like, so many, like, elements to it. I'm still learning every day, and I think it's cool.
And are you primarily self-taught, or have you had someone who has kind of shown you how to do it?
No, I just bought a book one day, and then it came with, like, a set of tarot cards, just, like, a basic set. So I started just, like, trying to practice that, and I would look up YouTube videos and, like, read articles. So no one's ever taught me. I should probably, like, have someone be like show me how to actually like do it to like
yeah
books, but
I'm sure there's some physical resource out there because it's super intriguing. We went to Salem, Massachusetts for the first time last November, and like very much headquarters of a lot of, you know, that kind of vibe and spirituality, and we found a couple shops that had tarot card readers, and it's just like the ability, whether or not you believe in it, it's hard to deny that there is something to it, because the ability to just tell you certain things about either your past or your future or your present sense, it's kind of mind-boggling because it's really there.
Yeah, I remember like I showed my friends like when I was first starting to kind of do it. I like invited. It was like I had like a group of like 4 friends. I was like, just come over, let me do this, and they're like, yeah, right. And I'm like, no, it's gonna change your life.
Yeah.
And I sat them down, I made them do it. They're like, wow, that was like really cool.
That's awesome.
Like,
now, had you had your cards read for you prior to your interest in it?
No, I literally never have.
Interesting.
I think it's like,
and even to this point, never.
No.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to do it for myself sometimes.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like it'd definitely be more of an experience if I had somebody else do it.
For sure.
I just like saw a YouTube video of it, and I was like, "This is cool," so I'm gonna do it.
That's awesome.
Still haven't yet to have my own cards read.
Right on, right. I'll be very curious to see what your future holds in terms of what the cards say for you. So I want to talk about a couple other things. So we talked about your debut. You know, so that it's only a year and a half ago, so still relatively new, and we've obviously seen you progress and have a ton of success in the last year and a half, which has been awesome because it's been such an upward trajectory. What was your training process like? Because you mentioned Jesus Bryce. We know you trained with Bryce Benjamin, and he's notorious for having these long periods of training time before he deems you ready to debut. And kudos to him, because most of his trainees who do get a chance to debut are more than ready and usually take off like a rocket, like we've seen with you, like we've seen with Pat and a lot of other people. How long of a training process was it from the time you started to the time that you debuted, and what was that experience like for you?
I think it was about 2 years, almost like to exact, so pretty much almost 2 years. When I like originally started, I was still in school.
In high school?
Yeah, because I started, I was like about to turn 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I couldn't drive, obviously.
Sure.
And, like, the old training building, now it's like the Freelance Academy, but, it used to be at, like, the Galley Arena.
Right.
And that was, like, 45 minutes from my house.
Okay.
And, like, they would run training late because at the time we didn't have, like, now we have, like, set, like, times for training, but before we used to just, like, go till whenever.
It was so
like,
chaotic.
So we could be out of there. And I like couldn't drive, and it was so far from my house, like for like someone to drop me off and come pick me back up. So like my mom would literally like stay with me from like whatever time we would get there at 7, and sometimes we wouldn't end till like 2 a.m. and like
it's
she
crazy.
would just stay with me. So I'm thankful for that. But
so is it fair to say that you had support from your mom in time, and certainly in terms of pursuit of this as a very serious hobby or career?
Absolutely. I feel awesome. They definitely. I think like once you put me in the wrestling world, like there was no taking me out of it. So they were just like as supportive as possible. And then it's like I was still in school, so there was no way I was going to be getting home at 3 a.m., have to wake up for school at 6 a.m., and like try to do this. So they were super helpful in the sense of like letting me leave public school, and I like did the rest online.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, so I ended up graduating like 2 years early.
Oh, wow.
So I could finish, so I could continue on with training and like just have everything out of the way.
Yeah. And
like no distractions. So that's literally all I wanted to do. Like I didn't care about like the friend. I had like bad friends in school, so I was like, I don't care about that. I don't care about anything. So, and then no training. It was a long time, and there were so many days that I would just get so frustrated. I think because I just like I'm a slow learner in general.
Okay.
Like feeling like they were there was like the little family like we had there.
Yeah.
Like, everyone was always so supportive, and like there was never nobody ever made me feel bad for like if I didn't understand something or whatever. It was just like I would get so down on myself. It's like everyone else can do this, and why is it taking me so long? It took me like 2 years to learn how to do an arm drag.
Okay.
The slowest learner in the world, and I get so frustrated. But there was literally so many nights that like I would just like go out to my car, and Bryce would come out and like see me like crying. I'm like, I'm never gonna be a wrestler, and he'd be like, shut up. Just like the amount of times like they've all just like seen me like cry like a little baby because I like just wanted to have my first match, and I just felt like it was taking so long. But like I'm grateful for the process now. But
that's awesome.
It was crazy.
It's stressful, but I mean, it obviously there's a method to the madness. Yeah. And the training style is very unique, but very thorough and very diligent, and the type of product and students that Bryce is able to put out there is certainly admirable, and we've seen it on more than one occasion. So what was your first match?
My first match, it was like six people. I think it was, I like forget because it was just like
it's all a blur.
I was like so happy afterwards, like cried afterwards, but no, it was me and Pariah against Bryce and Warbear.
Was this at Kaiju?
I think it was it was at Kaiju.
Okay,
right on. Literally, it was my first match. I like was a babyface, and I like turned heel at the end, and then joined them.
Got it.
So it was that's interesting first match, but it was a lot of fun. Like I said, I cried after. I had all my family there.
That's awesome.
It was only like 20 minutes from my house. So I like invited everybody. Like my best friend from Canada came.
Oh wow.
And she got to see like my first match ever, and like I didn't even think that was gonna be my first match. I didn't even know till like an hour before. I was only supposed to be like have like one spot in like the crowd, so like to lead up to. Sure. That's how it goes. Yeah, there ended up being like a cancellation, and then they're like, "You want to wrestle tonight?" And I was like, yeah.
Of course.
An hour before, but it worked out good because my friend was there and like all my family was there, so.
That's huge. You've gone from that point, and your second match, which was your first match with Zelo Pro, working against Jordan Grace and Laney and Shotzi, and then fast forward throughout the year, you've worked on Impact's taping. You've had involvement with Evolve and being an extra for NXT. Tell me about that. How did that come about, working with Evolve and NXT, and what was that experience like?
Honestly, it was one of like the best experiences of my life. I had always seen the Evolve stuff and like always wanted to be a part of it, but I think you have to be 18 to do it anyways, and
gotcha.
So like I think when I had just turned 18 when I had my first match, so I was never able to do like any of the seminars before that, and then I was just like, I'm gonna save all my money because they're kind of expensive, so I was like, I'm gonna save my money and do this thing, and did the seminar. It was great. We did practice matches and stuff. And then I didn't think anything happened from it, which was fine.
Sure.
I didn't expect it to. Because I had a good time. I learned a lot. The show was great. Seminar was great. And then, like, the people got picked to do the show. And then I was like, oh, like, I didn't get picked. It's fine. but I ended up like managing one of the people who got picked on that show that
Okay.
night. So like I didn't wrestle, but I still got to be a part of it.
Yeah.
So cool.
That's some good exposure.
Yeah, and I thought that was it. Like I thought I was just gonna be a manager. So like I'm happy with this. Like it was so much fun. Like I think I posted about it for like the next week. I was like so excited.
Of course.
I always like wanted to do that. And then I think I got an email like a few weeks later from Gabe, and he just asked like if I was available to go to Orlando and do extra work.
Wow.
And I'm like, yes.
Of course, hands down.
And I think it was like I only had like 2 weeks notice, but luckily I had opened a savings account because I started saving for this week, saving for WrestleMania week. So I opened a savings account, and I had already saved some money for it. Literally, I saved a year in advance, and then here we are. I'm not even there, but luckily it came in handy because I had some extra money, so I just used that to fly to Orlando, get a hotel. Was there for like I think I went an extra day, spent the day in Orlando, and then the next day did extra work. And they didn't end up like needing anything, so it was kind of just it was like me and a few other people. I think I was the only girl there.
Right on.
But we didn't get to do anything, but just like being able to see how everything operates, and it was my first time, so it was like being able to see like just like that was like my dream as a kid, just to be able to go like backstage.
Right.
And so like I was like, even if I don't get to do anything tonight, this is the coolest thing
in
the world. Like I literally like dreamt about this moment, just like being here.
Yeah.
And like just like seeing them like put their matches together and like just like see how they like it's very much like the same on a higher level, but
for sure.
Just like the way they all put their matches together and stuff like that, I'm just like interested in like how they do it.
Absolutely.
Like, it's very, very much different than how I do, because they just like they think about like the little things that like I don't.
Right.
Because like years of experience, but just, like being able to watch that. They have like the little like auditorium room for when the show's going on, and so like everyone who's not in the show goes and sits in there and watches it.
Gotcha.
Just being able to like be in there with everybody and watch the show and like hear all their reactions and like what they think about stuff and like all this just different kind of stuff. It was really the coolest day of my life.
That's amazing. That's
and
huge.
then like Indy had just gotten signed.
Was she there while you were there?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I got lunch with her the day before, and then got to hang out with her at the show. But,
nice. That's awesome. What a cool experience. Now, have you done anything with them since that point, or was that the last time that you did any extra work?
I did it there, and then I did the 4 days.
Oh, when Survivor Series was in Chicago?
Yeah.
Nice. And was that similar for you in terms of the experience and kind of being there?
It was better in a lot over.
Yeah.
But they were both amazing days. But being able to spend like 4 days there, and it was 4 different shows, because it was like down, TakeOver, the pay-per-view, and then Raw.
Right.
It was just
so getting to see what a weekend run is like, essentially, in person. Yeah.
And I ended up doing like they needed like a plant in the crowd in case like I think like Adam Cole did like a table spot and they didn't want the table piece to fly into the crowd, so it had to be there.
So you were the protector of the people.
Yeah. So we did that, and then did the conga line on Monday.
Right on.
But like the other 2 days, it was nothing. But it was still like it was so cool, and like being able to like watch the show and just like again just like seeing how things are run and just like this is like obviously where I would like to be eventually.
Of course.
So just being able to like see that and like be around people who have all this experience and like people like I've grown up watching, just like seeing them just like I think I was like at one point like watching the pay-per-view with Randy Orton sitting next to me.
Unreal.
And I was just like, this is the coolest thing in the world. Like,
it's real life. Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah, I've always just been like the biggest wrestling fan, so like I still am. Like I hope I never lose that. Yeah,
it's important. I think it's important to keep that, and I think we know a lot of backstories from a lot of people who are in WWE and AEW. Where I mean, I feel you have to start there if you're ever going to make it and be invested and passionate about the industry. You have to be a fan first, no doubt about it. And it's good to keep that.
I hate when people like make fun of you for like still being a fan. It's like if I was a fan, like I should be a fan. Like I wouldn't be here if I wasn't.
Absolutely, and I mean that goes for any sport or entertainment industry. Like if you are an actor, no one's going to make fun of you for liking movies and TV shows or for watching baseball if you're a baseball player. Like you have to be passionate and live and breathe it, especially if it's going to become your livelihood. It's just, it goes hand in hand. So I always think that's silly when people give wrestlers a hard time for being fans of the business that they're trying to invest their entire lives in.
Yeah, and like I've only been working shows for like a year and a half, and there's times where like I obviously like don't get as excited about stuff as I would have as a fan. Like I get like sad when that happens. I'm like, no, like I want to be excited about this, and like I never want to like lose that piece of me. So
for sure, and like, I think that's a great goal to have, because it's important, especially being able to tie that as a fan, and also knowing what fans are interested in and would want to see. Yeah. Add that to your background with storytelling and interest in storytelling and your ability to wrestle. Like there's a lot of things going right.
Yeah, and I just feel like that's also like a source of like motivation. So like if I'm ever like not motivated, just think about like, well, like 8-year-old me would have thought this was the coolest thing in the world, so you better get excited about it.
Absolutely.
Like, I like spent my life like waiting for these things. So.
For sure. And so I mean, bummer that we're experiencing all this nonsense right now. But this, by the time that we were posting this, would have been WrestleMania weekend. You had bookings in Tampa for WrestleMania weekend?
I did.
Which is also pretty impressive, given that we're talking about having been working for a year and a half into it, and you're working WrestleMania weekend, which is a lifetime goal for a lot of people.
Yeah, I was so excited. I was supposed to leave. I was supposed to get there today at like 6 a.m. I just like wanted to get there as early as possible.
Of course, why not?
I had nothing to do today. I didn't have anything until tomorrow morning, but I'm like, I just want to be there. Like, I just want to like feel the energy of WrestleMania.
Unreal. And so it's crazy. And like by the time we'll post this too, you know, our next Zelo Pro show has been rescheduled. And so on that booking for you essentially was you and Blair Onyx working against the MK twins, who are part of Samoan Dynasty, Rikishi's trainees. Which I was really excited to see. One, for you and Blair to team together, and two, to have Ashley and Steph come and debut, especially with Rikishi coming back. It's been evident on social media and just kind of knowing you guys personally that you and Blair are pretty close, and both outside of wrestling and in wrestling. How did that relationship come to be?
I think it was like, we have only been friends for like a year, which is crazy because I feel like I've known her for like my entire life.
Yeah.
But I think we wrestled. Oh yeah, we had a singles together at Berwyn Championship, and it was on 3/16 of last year.
Okay.
Like a week before that, because we would do like the Sunday like conditioning trainings with Quinn.
Yeah.
It would only ever be like a little group of us, but we invited her. I think Lainey invited her. It was the first time I ever met her, and I'm sure you know about Quinn days.
Yes. Oh yes.
The
infamous for being intense. Yeah.
And I've done a lot of them, and I knew it was her first time, and I didn't even know her, and I was like, does this girl know what she's getting herself into? And but she was so nice, and she had messaged me like, I think like a week before, just like, oh, I'm so excited to work with you, blah blah blah. So I was like, oh, she's so nice. And we ended up being partners for the Quinn Day.
Right on.
And like bonded over that. Like,
just naturally.
Life or death situation.
Right.
But that's how like this first time I met her, and then we had the match, and just like the whole day we got along like so well. I've never like I've never met somebody so much like me, like I could like get along with.
Yeah.
In such a like cool way, and like I like have had like close friends, but I've always wanted like a best friend in wrestling. You know, like you see like people like all the time, like the infamous like Lita and Trish, and like literally like all the other pairs of like pro wrestling like best friends. It's like a certain type of like friendship I feel like normal friends can never like understand. Like,
for sure.
As much as I love like my outside of wrestling best friends, is like I just want like a wrestling best friend.
Right.
And then like she came along, and literally like I didn't even have to like, we just like were like drawn like to each other, just like there was no like not being friends after we became friends.
That's awesome. And like your personas mesh very well and similar. So like even outside of just personal relationship, your gimmicks work well together, and as a tag team and your Sisters of Destruction, I think kind of go well hand in hand. And I don't know, have you guys worked together as a team in a lot of other places before?
We did, I think, once or twice at SCW, which is her like home promotion in Iowa, and then we have like a few times at Galley, but other than that, I don't think we have. And like the Sisters of Destruction thing started off as like a joke.
Right.
Like it's so funny now, but
It just has a
No.
life of its own at this point.
Yeah, like it was just like us like making our stupid jokes that we make, and just like I think like one day I forget what we were saying. Like, we should be a tag team, and what should we call ourselves? And I was like, how about Sisters of Destruction? And it was like just like a joke,
Yeah.
and then like I think we were actually tagging at SCW one day, and Merrick Brave, he's the promoter there, and he asked like I think someone asked like what we wanted to be called, and I was like, we said Sisters of Destruction as a joke. Like, we didn't think they were actually going to call us that. And then we're literally walking to the ring, and we hear Merrick on the microphone, and he's like, the Sisters of Destruction, and then like, I was trying so hard not to laugh, and I looked at her, and I could see that she was trying so hard not to laugh. And then like, we had like this cool entrance, and then like, she like fell, and like, we just messed it up, and like, it was like,
oh man.
It was like, now we just like created this, and then we got like matching tattoos for it. So,
No way.
Back now, yeah.
Oh man, it's
She's
official.
my forever now.
Yeah, you're bonded forever. That's hilarious. Well, I'm certainly hopeful that we get past all of this craziness and we can get to see you guys work together, both in the Zelo Pro ring and elsewhere, as well just in general, being able to get back into the ring and start working events again. You know, until that point. How can people support you, follow along with you, kind of see what you're doing, you know, obviously on social media, but other ways that they can support you both financially and as a fan?
I have a Patreon. The link is in my, I think, Instagram and Twitter bio. I'll post, like, just, like, exclusive photos.
Sure.
I'll post, like, first look stuff. So, like, anything I'm posting on social media, eventually I'll post there first. I post, like, my meals, my workouts, like, songs that I listen to. I'll post my calendar for events, which right now is completely empty. My March one was pretty big, and then we had to forget about that. Yeah, I just post like pretty much like a lot of exclusive stuff that you won't see on my other social medias. And then I had T-shirts, I ran out, but
that's a good thing.
Another one soon. Yeah, so I'll be posting that on my Instagram, and then like I have 8x10s and stuff. Usually, if people just message me, they say they want a certain 8x10, or like I'll print that out, or I'll just get like a set. Yeah, I have Patreon. I have 8x10s. I'm going to be having shirts soon.
Awesome.
And then I'm going to start. I have a YouTube channel, but I don't really like post on there. But I would like to start vlogging as soon as I get a camera. It's just like to see like you know like the inside parts of like my life that
For
like,
sure.
I don't really post anywhere else. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and I think that's great and gives people a good reason. Obviously, if you've watched this interview, there's a lot to you, and you have great stories to tell and have a very interesting personality even outside the wrestling world. So I think there would certainly be a demand for that, for sure.
Thank you. Yeah, because I always think about like I love like growing up like seeing like my favorite wrestlers like not be the wrestler and just like see them like live their normal life. Like I thought it was the coolest thing in the world. So like I'm sure someone enjoys that. So,
no doubt about it.
Like I enjoy like doing that, like doing these types of things. So it's like, and then people have been telling me and Blair a lot lately that like we should just like our personalities like together and everything is like so this is like over the top. So just like put more of that like into the world.
Absolutely, especially now when we're doing nothing but consuming content. If you were going to do it, and it would certainly be worth the watch and entertaining, especially when you guys are just interacting as yourselves and are able to put off that type of chemistry and entertainment when you don't have the access to do it in front of a live crowd. There's no better opportunity than now.
Literally, and me and her would we make skits and film them.
Then of
just
course
to make ourselves laugh.
Yeah.
But why are we not? And then we'll just delete them. It's like, why are we not posting this?
Got to capitalize on it.
Taking something we do for fun and just putting it out. I'm sure someone will think it was funny.
Absolutely. So I mean, you've heard it here. Keep an eye out for the Elayna Black and Blair Onyx YouTube channel and vlogs and everything upcoming, because it's going to be nothing short of entertaining. And obviously anybody who wants to see any of your previous work, obviously at Zelo Pro, all of your matches are uploaded already on our YouTube channel. Watching this video is certainly one way to support you and being able to share that out and let more people get familiar with you and discover you and kind of find your work that way. But I know I'm certainly interested to see everything that you have coming up, because it's been such a fun ride so far, and you have a very bright future. And I know that once we get things back to as normal can be, there'll be plenty more to see for sure.
Ready to go.
Yes, we'll be ready. We're all gearing up. Awesome. Well, I appreciate your time. Thanks for chatting
you
with
so
me.
much.
Thanks for doing this. It was a lot of fun, and hopefully we will get to see you again soon, live and in person, when all this is said and done with.
Yes, absolutely. I can't wait. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Have a good one. Take care.
You too.
Bye.